parents bought the theater in 1953. I have in my head the date of September 1st, 1953, when it first came to the theater. I'm supposed to use this too. So my early years is really vague. I have a brother, Sue, who's still in Arizona. She's down there. I talked to her brain. She's 6 years older than I am, so she can remember a lot more about Grand Lake in the early 50s than I can. My brother passed away 2 years ago. He was 4 years older than I am, so he would remember a lot. He'd be a little bit different storyteller than what I'm going to talk about. But so 1953 or 53 September. As far as I know, we started a movie theater. We bought it. Parents bought it. My dad worked for Paramount Pictures in Denver, and somehow I guess working for Paramount Pictures, buying a theater came into play. So we bought the movie to theater here in Grand Lake. From my understanding, we had it. Will's my coach back then. We purchased there was a theater in Fraser for a couple of years that I don't remember anything of. We do have a calendar here, probably, of the theater, both the Lake Theater and theater in Fraser. But the early days of my Grand Lake are not very much like I was talking to Roger over here. And I can start remembering the late 50s, but I do have some memories of early Grand Lake. Winters 53 and 54, we lived in Idaho Springs in the wintertime, came here in the summer. 54 and 55, where did we live? I think we lived here 2 winters, and that was enough for Mom to say that was no more. So it was winter of 58. We all went back to St. Louis, where that was their hometown, so we stayed with Grandma and Grandpa for the winter, came back next spring, and opened a theater. So my life has been pretty much May through September in Grand Lake for the last 7 years. The 2 winters we did stay up here, I have very little memory, but it was, I think I do have some memories of when I got a little bit older. Some of my memories are, we lived in different places around here. One is up on Mountain Avenue. We used to call it the Brown House. It's now, I think, a light green house. We had an outhouse, did not have a toilet. And I remember one night there was something rolling on the back of the door, and Dad said it was a bear. And I remember that same year, because we didn't live there but a couple of years, either in the spring or in the fall, a bear climbed up a tree up to where the Walls used to live, and he was up on the tree. Everybody got around, parents drank their beer and watching the bear up in the tree. So that was one fond memory. Another memory about, I had to talk to my sister Sue about ages and times. She said about 5 or 6, I was down at the beach, and some people were on the dock there, and some people were doing something, and I kind of backed off and fell in the lake. The beach side, not the other side. Some guy, Terry Hill, grabbed me up, pulled me out, and took me home, and my mom gave him a year's pass to the theater for me. So, another fun memory. As I got older, played with Roger and Steve and Richard and Tim Randall. All of you probably know some of the names. We roamed the hills around a lot. Up in the hills, we did a lot of hikes around up in the country, up the national park. I think I hit every trail I can think of. Favorite trail is East Inlet. I like that trail the best. You used to go, if you go up this road, and there's I used to call it Tunnel Road. You guys call it the West Portal.
Tunnel, I call it Tunnel Road.
Tunnel, okay, still Tunnel Road. We could walk up, and remember that little
Sure, yeah, where the rocks are.
Yeah.
And we go up behind it. And
I think we even camped up there.
Turn up to the Grand Lake Lodge.
60s, I think it was in 62, Mom said we're going to go to Denver for the winter. So we did. We went to high school, grade school in Denver. Came up there, like I said, every May. We got some calendars of the years we had here, so it was good times. Lived in different cabins throughout those time. The last place Mom rented was right across the street. Used to be a Roans.
Oh, right there.
Terry Woods, Judy Woods. Was that the people who owned it? I think Judy was a Roan's daughter. Yeah, it's a brown, it's right here. In 72, Mom decided, well, let's start looking for maybe a cabin. So we looked around, and we went up Mountain Road, and she ran across this cabin that was, and I have a picture over here of her standing in front of it here, and Will knows that cabin quite well. It looked kind of vacant, it was all closed in. She went to the electric meter, got the number off the meter, called the electric company to see who owned it, and it was some doctor in Missouri. She called him, talked to him, says, we saw your cabin here, I don't know if you're interested in selling it or whatever. And he said, well, first let us go in and look at it and see. So we went in and looked at it. So she called him back and says, well, are you willing to sell? And he said, yeah. So it was 2 lots. The cabin was 604 square feet, a log cabin. She paid $4,500 for the property.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a steal. And so we fixed it up a little bit, lived there. We still were in the theater. Along in 1970, Mom would come up for the summer. She worked at a bank down in Denver. She'd always get a leave of absence for the summer to come up for the summer months. Paul and I were still in school. My sister got married in 65, so she went and had her own life. But she would always come up. We'd always come up for the summer months, go to school in the winter. In 70, the bank told her that we'd come along and give you a leave of absence. So she said, okay. So Paul, my brother Paul, and myself ran the movie theater from 70 to 75. Mom would come up on the weekends, bring all the film up for the weekend. And so we did that until 75. In 75, things have changed. My sister was gone. My brother had graduated from college. He went to University of Illinois to get his master's degree in industrial arts, and he was done. And I graduated from college in 74. So it was like, okay, maybe it's time to sell. I didn't have to say so, but Paul and Mom decided it was time to sell. So we sold the cabin, or we sold the business, so excuse me, to the Lake Theater in 75, and the Guptons took over after that, and they had it for 10 years, I believe. So one thing that my sister pointed out, running the theater as a family all these years, helped pay for our college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Mom come out for it, she had it. But it helped us in college, which was, but why didn't I think of that? But it helped us. So, as for what Grand Lake was like, Roger, you're gonna have to help me on this, but.
It's a lot different.
Yeah, a lot different. The theater was here, there was nothing around the park. There was
No. They had the little jail next door.
the outhouse.
Two jail cell jail.
Yeah.
And then the firehouse was.
Firehouse, and the library was right above the firehouse.
Mhm.
So, one thing I always thought that, and I should have started at the beginning, so I wanted to welcome you to the Grand Lake Community House. This is a house I grew up in. From 1-year-old to the time we sold the theater. This house didn't have a kitchen, didn't have a bathroom, didn't have a living room, no TV. I don't know if we had TV back in 53, I don't know. The only thing, we did have a telephone, but we had 250 seats in here. a huge screen. This screen covered from here to here. And there's a picture over the wall that we have there. And then there's projectors with me when I'm 22. And those projectors were up above here. I don't know if any of you have ever been up that stairway. It's pretty steep. Projectors up there. We had a lot of people who ran the projectors. One of the first people that ran it, well, not one of the first that I can remember, was Bud Spitzmiller. You probably remember. I think it was Bud Spitzmiller. Yeah, he ran the I worked for Bud when I was 16 and 17, cleaning cabins during the day. So I know he ran the cameras. We had a few other people. Carol Moore was another person. And then we had a good friend of the family named Steve Stone, who was with us. He ran the cameras. I don't know, Roger, if you ever met him.
Steve Stone.
Yeah. Then some of my friends, Steve Howard, Richard Slap. And then I finally got to run the cameras because I was too tiny to see out the window. But I got to start running the cameras. And so, but the summer from 70 to 75, Paul and I pretty much ran the theater. We didn't really have anybody, what we used to call candy girls, it would be whatever, but we used to call them candy, but we kind of ran it. And so we did a good job. We had a good time. We had a lot of memories going in the theater.
What kind of crowd would you have?
What kind of crowd? Depends on the movie. We'll talk to the movies here in a minute, but that's the main thing. So if you have questions, just go ahead and raise your hand.
What did you charge?
Okay. The earliest I can remember is 75 cents for adults and 25 cents for kids. And supposedly when I was talking to my sister Sue, she said, if you got in before 6 o'clock, we had shows 6, 8, and 10. If you got in before 6 o'clock, you got in for 65 cents.
Oh, wow. You saved a dime.
Popcorn was 10 cents. We had nickel and dime candies.
You'll never see that again.
No, you won't see that. And we raised the price. I think when we sold the theater in 75, I want to say it was $3 for adults and $1 for kids.
Whoa.
That's too cheap.
Yeah, but back then that was money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good money back then.
yeah, it was good money. But yeah, we had good crowds. We had some good crowds. And depending on the movie, and like I said, we'll talk about that in a minute. What else is I wanted to talk about before I get to the movies?
Who did you sell it to? I didn't catch the name.
Gupton, I think his first, Gupton. Will, do you remember his first name?
No, I don't.
He was a teacher, and he had some daughters that ran the theater. Kind of like he bought it to give the kids something to do during the summertime. So the daughters ran the theater, and I helped after we sold the theater in 75. I came back in the summer of 76 and helped run the theaters, or run the cameras. And I think he came up on weekends too. And sometimes since he's a teacher, he had summer off. So, one thing I did, like I said, when I was 16, 17, I worked for Bud Spitzmiller. And good old Bud. And then after that, I asked the city if I could work for the city of town of Round Lake and take care of the park. So I took care of the park. Doesn't look anything like it does now. But,
There's a lot more work too.
yeah, you know, pull out the hose from out of the lawn, hand push the mower. There was no boardwalk. We had the marquee, which was we advertised the theater was an old raggedy log thing that out on where the sidewalk was. Let's see what else I can think about. The theater itself, like I said, when we first got in here, there were drapes hanging. The window was boarded up. You couldn't see out. But there was drapes hanging, and that's one of the drapes in the entry with the Cowboys. So those were hanging. If you get a visual, those were hanging along both sides here. And then about mid 60s, 70s, late, before 70s, I would say mid-60s, we put on the walls what we call soundfold. You just covered the wall, it made the sound a lot better when you're watching a movie. So that was a nice improvement, so, made it a lot more atmosphere. Some memories of the movies. Someone asked me about, was it Dave you were asking me about? Rowdy kids or, yeah.
Me?
Yeah. Roger, did we ever have rowdy kids in your theater?
No.
Or any of them named Roger.
Yeah, we had a lot. One of the things, people like this, yeah,
You said your family bought the theater in 1953, correct? When was it actually established then? If you actually bought it in 53, when was it actually?
I'm gonna say, did you all get that 100th anniversary of the community building? You might go back and read that. There's history of the entire of the community building. Well, I think it was 1935 that it actually became a theater.
Okay.
Yeah. Red Irvin, we bought it from Red Irvin. I don't know if he owned it, how long he owned it prior to that. But yes, it was a theater. There's been a movie theater for a long time.
Wow. So you own theater, or was this always a town hall?
As far as from what I read, this was a community house.
Oh,
Okay. Somewhere in the 20s, they had plays, stages, all kinds of wonderful things going on. I'm sure if your mom was alive, she'd have tell us a huge
Oh,
story.
I think they even did a little bell ring.
Yeah. But there was no TV in Grand Lake. I'm sure you had radio. I don't know, telephone, how, when. I don't remember. I always knew there was a TV, or a TV available, but it was only channel 2 and channel 4 out of that.
That's right.
Until cable came along.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
And that's why movies thrill, excelled in a small town like this. You don't have TV, you only got 2 channels. So having a movie theater paid off. Winters were rough. I know we tried to stay open a couple winters, but it just wasn't worth it.
There wasn't enough people in town to come.
Yeah.
Well, most
There
families.
wasn't nobody coming up in the winter.
Yeah. And we hardly came up there.
And the amount of snow.
So let's talk a little about movies. What did we play in the movie theater, Lake Theater? You could always bet on a Western. Yeah. Any Western, John Wayne, Gary Cooper, any Western, a pretty good bet. Musicals,
Lee Marvin.
Lee Marvin.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to talk about Lee Marvin in a minute. Well, kind of like a lot. And the movie he was in, one of my favorites. Western.
Good, bad, and the ugly or something. wasn't
Good,
it?
Bad, and the Ugly. That was a Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood, I remember that.
Wagon train.
Wagon
Oh,
train.
paint your wagon.
Oh, thank you.
Paint your wagon.
Okay, we're going to get a treat later. Yeah. And that leads into musicals. Musicals were very popular. You name a musical, but I got some albums over here, soundtracks to musicals and soundtracks to movies I love the soundtrack to. I have some albums over the old LPs, so, there.
Those are cool.
Yeah. So musicals, comedies. Gotta have a good comedy.
Oh,
If you rifle through some, you'll see a lot of Jerry Lewis movies. Some other comedies, but comedies are always good.
Doris Day movies.
Pardon?
Doris Day movies.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Not to offend anybody, but Doris Day was always called a constant virgin. Lot Doris Day, and we had the serious movies, ones that, dramas, things like that, but mostly the Western, the
Well, you
musical.
couldn't go wrong with good Western.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, especially here back then days.
Yeah. Movies in the 50s were America going through, getting through the golden age of America, baby boomer, on the last of the baby boomer. Movies were always dream-like movie, yeah. Doris Day
You
movies.
go to the theater for escape.
Yeah, it was for escape. And then towards the 60s, things changed with movies because America changed. I think a lot started with Kennedy's assassination. Then came civil rights, women's rights, love, war, and peace, Vietnam War, protests. Things changed the movie to reflect what was going on in the 60s. And there were some good movies that came out in the 60s. And about that time, Motion Picture decided to come along with these ratings. G, PG, R, X.
That's related to that.
So, and what was in the movies changed a lot, the actual subject matter of the movies, and that's why the ratings came along. Old 50 movies, scenes were referred to, but now in the 60s, 70s, scenes were real. Getting to the real scenes, I think. To me, the late 60s, early 70s was good years for movie making, for movies. Things like Butch Cassidy and Sometimes Kid, Easy Rider.
Star Wars.
Well,
That
77.
was later.
That was 77.
Yeah, you're right.
Boy, if Star Wars came along, then it would have blown a lot of people away. But a lot of good movies came in the 60s and the 60s and 70s. A lot more quality movies. You know, one of the things was Academy Awards time. We sit down, see who was going to win the Academy Award that year, and we always try to get those movies too. Some we agreed with, some we didn't, but yeah, we agreed with some. Trying to think, 70s movies got a lot better. Even after we sold the theater, I think films still got better and better. But now, I'm sorry, we haven't been to a movie theater in 2-3 years.
Nothing decent to watch
Yeah.
anymore that they're
Yeah, it's just-
these days.
Our grandsons like the Marvels of Captain America. Yeah, and so they don't go to movies like we used to anymore. I don't know if any of you have TCM, Turner Classic Movies. If you can get TCM, a lot of old classic movies you get to watch on there.
Now, did you rent these movies or was it?
Good point. Yeah,
Okay.
basically. Okay, so if we played a brand new movie theater, brand new movie, let's say, let's do Butch Cassidy and the Sundance. It was a Academy Award. It did real well. If you rented a movie from the film company, Warner Brothers, Paramount, United Arts, whoever, you had to pay a percent of your earnings. 30%, 40%, and you had to pay, that was your rental fee for that.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. An older movie that's been around a while, and I'm going to use Paint Your Wagon. We've played that so many times.
I bet.
Yeah. You could rent for $25.
Wow.
Yeah.
For how long?
And how much? of
If you
a
ran
profit
for a
could
week,
you
you got it
make?
for $25. We ran movies either one night or 2 nights. Very rarely did we do 3 nights. Because this is a tourist town, you know, turnover was constant. We paid, like I say, Paint Your Wagon, we played at the beginning of June, we played it again in August. We could play it almost every month and we'd still do good on it.
Like, how much of a profit could you make if you had to pay $25 to rent?
Okay, I'm going to use Paint Your Wagon because you brought
And you
that.
had 250 seats at
We used to keep,
75 cents for adults. And
oh, it was
25
back
cents.
then, back in the 70s, I think we were up to maybe $2 for adults.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe.
So you could make a nice profit.
So the last summer, we had the theater, we played Paint Your Wagon toward Labor Day. We had a little register, we kept our, how much we earned that night and all that. I remember the number of $721 that night
Wow, that's a lot of money back in the day.
for $25. That's an exception to the rules.
Yeah.
Some movies,
Yeah, and that's before your overhead comes out.
yeah, but that's basically how
But
movies
still,
were done.
that's profitable.
Yeah, so we would play a lot of old movies because we knew we could get them cheaper and people come back and see it again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be neat.
How many people could you see?
Seat?
Yeah.
We had 250 seats.
I'm sorry?
250.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's 252 or 257, I don't know. But,
And they were basically just kind of chairs like this, right?
No.
Oh, they were- no, there's-
Like what he was sitting in when we walked in.
Oh, one of those theater chairs.
yeah, there's a picture right there. When you get down there, you can go.
It had 2 or 3 on each side and then.
They were comfortable seats.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, they sure were. They were regular theater
Yeah.
seats.
Had a aisle down both sides with some on the outsides.
You know, they sure
And
did.
you could see the,
Roll through here.
yep, here's the theater seat. We should have brought that up here.
Yeah, you should have been sitting in that all this time. Yeah.
That was a pretty
They
big
didn't
screen.
go there, huh?
Yeah, these were comfortable seats back in the 50s.
Oh, those were lucky
Sure.
reels. Oh, my.
So this one I borrowed when we moved, sold it. It was sitting right down here. And then there was, my brother got 2 of them, I think those 2 seats together were over here. So,
Yeah.
3 less seats when we sold the theater. And we would sell out that night with Paint Your Wagon. We had 3 shows. 6 o'clock show was always 10 to 15 people maybe.
Right, spin around.
8 o'clock show was the big one. They'd be lined out the door, down the street, waiting to get in.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 8
No,
o'clock.
6, 8, and 10.
Oh.
Yeah. In June, and at the end, we generally just do 2 shows, 7 and 9. But from July and August, we'd go 6, 8, and 10. But yeah,
It's really interesting, I remember this thing.
Was the theater dark? Like, did you have a dark day, or did you open like Sunday to Sunday?
we were 7 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
You operated 7 days a week, you were never closed?
Nope,
Wow.
this is my house. I grew up here.
No bedrooms, no kitchen,
No,
no
we
living room?
had to go
But I
find some
grew
place
up
to sleep
here.
at night. This was our house. This was our house.
But you
Yeah.
watched a lot of movies here.
I figure summer was like 100 days. So I figure if we ran a movie one night and 2 nights, I figure probably in the summer, maybe 60 movies I would see.
Wow.
Some of them were repeats.
When did they stop using this as a movie theater? And when did they get rid of all? When did they stop using this as a movie theater?
1985 when the Guptons sold it, I don't know, well, they turned into the live theater here.
Yeah, the repertoire theater was.
Yeah,
Before they built their
But they were over here in the pine cone.
They were in the pine cone.
Pinecone?
Yeah.
Pinecone Theater.
Yeah,
Yeah, they started.
They
They
started.
started over there and came here, I
they
think.
came here and then they
Yeah.
built the new theater. Which reminds me, not much about the live theater, they were called the troupe, the theater people. They would call us up and say, can we have a midnight movie? So Paul and I would stay up, they'd come in, we'd get maybe 20, 30 from the troupe, come in. They always liked musicals, cabaret, I can remember one, they wanted to see cabaret.
Yeah.
The music or something special you would see on the stage, they wouldn't come see it. It was a good
That's cool,
call.
and you would open it up special for them.
Yep, after the 10 o'clock movie, everybody left out, they'd come in, run the 4th one.
Would you still have popcorn?
Oh, popcorn, glad you mentioned. We had the best popcorn in the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It was a huge huge stainless steel popcorn machine.
Oh, wow.
It made the best, it was awesome.
How'd you clean up after it?
We generally cleaned up in the morning after.
With the vacuum?
Nope, sweep.
It's all manual.
Oh, man, yeah. When I was working for Bud Spitzmiller, or that summer, I was working for the town, Paul, the brother, would come in next morning and sweep, clean up the theater. Sometimes it wasn't that bad that night, we'd clean it before we go home. So, but, yeah, the popcorn, the great popcorn, the troop would come in and watch a movie.
It must have been an interesting life to
Yeah.
grow up that way.
My mom and I think my sister said in 1958 or 60, we had a Lutheran service churches here. Sunday mornings. So Saturday, Sunday morning, come to church. She through the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, she got pastors to come out to vacation in Grand Lake, and we would pay for their hotel, or the church would pay for the hotel if they would preach on Sunday morning.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That lasted, I want to say 2-3 years. It didn't last that long, but it was something else that Mom did, that we did.
I didn't know that.
Other things that along the years, you talked about rowdy kids. This is one event that you'll really like. We used to have what we call Western Week. Okay, Roger probably remembers it.
Buffalo barbecue.
Oh, Buffalo barbecue.
Buffalo barbecue.
Yeah, one of the townspeople come and ask Mom. Oh, by the way, Mom's name was Cokie Allmeyer. I don't know if you've heard that name before. But she went by Cokie. Her real name was Florence, but her nickname was Cokie. Townspeople came and asked Mom, we would like to have a cowboy ride a horse into the theater down the aisle. Mom said, in spirit of Western Week, yeah, let's go ahead and try that. Cowboy came in.
All the bars, and they'll come in here too.
Cowboy came in, riding the horse, came over here,
Yeah.
came down the aisle. And some people didn't notice it. I don't know what movie we were playing, some people, and then the mouse back door. No little couple noticed it and they didn't like it. Supposedly the horse spooked her or something like that. And she was very upset outside in the candy stand. And Mom was, who didn't mean that. But, yeah.
She must have been a city slicker, right?
I actually could have, I don't know, but that was probably the most eventful, having that, like that horse down the theater.
I think it's funny.
Then the last summer we were at it, my brother had to stay in Denver for the summer, so his wife and I were running the theater during the week, and they would come up the weekend. So we had some Grand Lake Lodge kids come down. And they were in there, and they were fine, they were watching. Some guy was drinking his wine. So I'm not a very big guy. I was not a very big guy. So I went down and tapped him and said, you have to give me that wine. And he wasn't going to do it. He was looking at me like a little kid. So I went and called the sheriff. And I can't remember who the sheriff was, but he came in, got the guy out, and as he walked out the door, he turned up, the lodge employee turned it on me and was cussing me out, and that sheriff went down on him. He just said, no, you want to talk to me, you talk to me. A couple of weeks later, that same employee came back in, didn't say a word, went and saw the movie.
It was Ray Brucing was one.
Say what?
Ray Brucing.
Ray Brucing, I remember him, but it wasn't Ray Brucing.
Rich McNeely came along a little later.
Yeah.
Years was he?
Who, Rich McNeely?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was
One summer,
70s, late 70s, early 80s. So I can't shit, actually.
one summer we had,
Ray Brucing, he was around when we were
yeah,
younger,
Yeah.
and there was
Do you remember that one 4th of July when we had the riot?
The old Buster Snyder.
Yeah, Buster Schneider.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Some people, bikers were back at the
Yeah,
park.
yeah, they closed the whole town down. When was that?
I can't remember. We were in.
It was in the late seventies too, I think. Mid,
No, it was early. We were young.
72, 73.
Yeah, it was, I was pretty young.
Yeah. So let's talk about movies.
Yeah. Quite
You've seen so many movies.
Cops would provoke more problems than the bikers. They were just up there to have fun.
Yeah, and they
The
came up with a
cops
lot.
came in and started hassling them, and
Yeah,
that caused more problems than
yeah, they came up for a lot of years
the
until
bikers
got rid
did.
of those. So movies, anybody can remember any of your favorite movies from way back when? Does anybody remember, besides Roger, that of coming to the theater? Okay. What were some of the favorite movies you saw back then?
Butch Cassidy and the
Butch
Sundance
Cassidy.
Cat
Sound
Balloon.
and Music.
Capaloo, there's another good Western.
Lee Marvin again.
Yeah, that was Lee Marvin. And he was also in Paint Your Wagon, too.
Yes, he
Yeah.
was.
What about the Clint Eastwood movies?
We played those. The first Fistful with $1, $2 more, Good, Bad, and Ugly. And then Clint Eastwood went on a whole bunch of Western movies that he played, that he made. John Wayne was a good draw. One of my favorite John Wayne movies, I have a book over here. It was called The Searchers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I liked that movie so much. It was just, because I remember the opening of the movie, the screen was black, the door opens, and you see Ethan, who was John Wayne, riding in the saddle, and I have to stand up. He walks up to the cabin, and I have to remember this day, he grabs his arm this way, and he walked the John Wayne walk into the cabin, or into the cabin there. I always liked it. That was the beginning of the movie. The movie was about finding the little girl that was abducted by the Cheyenne. Comanche, excuse me. And so the movie actually didn't hold to the actual true story of which was the true story of the little girl getting kidnapped. But he comes back, and then just a good movie. John Wayne. End of the movie.
He was the Duke.
Yeah, he was a dude. Same door, he brought the little girl back, played by Debbie Reynolds, Nellie Wood, brought the little girl back. Everybody hugged around him. John Wayne knew his dick. He walks back out of the door, doing the same thing. The door closes, and that's the end of the movie.
That was so cool.
That to me, I just
Wow.
stays there.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, but a lot of other good John Wayne movies, a lot of westerns. Man Who Shot Liberty Balance is a good one.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah. One of my personal favorites was John Wayne and the Cowboys. John Wayne was getting old, he couldn't do it anymore, but he got hired a bunch of kids to take a cattle drive up to wherever the cattle drive was. And Bruce Dern had a audacity to kill John Wayne in the movies.
Wow.
It was a movie. So that was one of my favorite westerns. Comedies, anybody have a good comedy?
Dean Martin
Jerry Lewis.
and Jerry Lewis and Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah.
I can't remember the names.
Yeah.
My favorite one was called Some Like It Hot.
Oh, yeah, Some Like It Hot.
Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon was just awesome in that movie. Daphne. Yeah, just love that movie. Watch that all the time. It was voted.
And did you play any Marilyn Monroe movies? Like
Yeah.
Some Like It Hot?
I can remember the Misfits. I can remember that one.
And all those?
But when she died in the early 60s, so after that, earlier in the 60s, I'm sure we did, but I can't remember any more of them. But yeah, she was, but I love something like that. Good comedy, but that was the best.
What was the acoustics like back then before you did that?
It wasn't very good.
It was.
Probably like in here right
Okay.
now, because you don't have any sounds. You know, everything goes with the sound pole. It absorbed a lot of the sound, so the sound was much better. The speakers behind the screen were huge, 2 huge speakers.
Wow.
Yeah. So sound was good, especially on the musical. That's good music.
I love these sounds.
Yeah. One of my favorite movies that really shook me when I saw it, I was 17 years old, went with my mom into theater in Denver and saw Midnight Cowboy.
Oh my gosh. Young boy.
Not knowing what it was really about.
Yeah.
You didn't understand what it was about?
Well, I thought it was a cowboy.
Oh.
I got the book over here too. That movie just,
Blew your mind.
Blew
Yeah,
my
mine
mind.
too.
yeah, it was rated X, won the Academy Award for Best Picture. Nowadays you can get through probably PG-14, but it's,
Yeah.
it was a good
But
movie.
back then it was pretty X-rated.
Yeah, but it was on Saturday night and I was watching it and my wife was, why are you watching this again? Yeah, I liked it so much. And that was just one of those movies that just, the acting, the scenery, the cinematography, the music, the directing.
Well, what about Oklahoma?
Hmm?
Did y'all play Oklahoma?
I don't know if we played Oklahoma.
Those are music.
Yeah, that was a good music. I loved it.
What I can't remember
Yeah, it was probably later that Oklahoma came out.
Yeah, I would think, I don't remember seeing it. I went through Saturday night, just went through my calendars again, just to kind of see if I could see some of the movies, remember? I don't remember seeing Oklahoma, but that's not the
Singing in
same.
the Rain.
I think we did have that, I think
Bing
that's,
Crosby.
yeah, no,
No, not
Gene
Bing
Kelly.
Gene Kelly, yes.
Okay, so, and last we'll talk about musical. Like, there's a lot of good musicals. My favorite was Paint Your Wagon. I just love that movie. So, a lot of good other musicals. Cabaret, I like, not really a musical, but it was a musical. I like that too.
Well, it was pretty close to a
Yeah.
musical. I mean, there was a story to it and
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah, there was a good story to that one too.
but.
So, how are we doing on real time?
That was kind of Liza Minnelli's days did too.
It's
wasn't
7:30.
It's on the nose. Huh. Any questions? Anybody got any comments or anything?
It was just such a great institution to have a movie theater in this building.
Yeah,
It was a great gathering place.
yeah.
At least as kids, that was the case.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, did you have a few times when you damaged the film?
Oh,
I mean, how expensive is that and what did that do?
I got 3 pieces of film clips right sitting over here you can look at. The film broke a lot.
Do you get a lot of, did that cost you a lot of money? You just,
No.
you send it back and say, well, the film broke 3 places?
Well, okay, the film broke. You can look at it right here. We had what we call a splicer. You took the film, cut it, put this little glue on it, spliced it, held it there, and ran it through again.
Huh.
I
Yeah.
was just thinking about returning the rental after
No,
splice jobs.
no one ever said anything. We never really damaged any movies. We just, some of the film broke, so you had to splice it back together. And that happened a lot.
How long did it take to splice it back?
But not to sell popcorn, right?
Enough to sell popcorn. What you had to do when the film broke, as you running the camera, it broke a lot, and so you had to stop it. You had to string the film through the projector again, go down to the bottom wheel, and then start it up. It only took a minute or 2, but it broke. So after you got done, then you went over to the splicer and then spliced it, so. Hopefully it dried before the next time you had to run it. Yeah, that happened a lot too.
Whatever happened to the big projector that you have here that you saw the movies on?
Well, the Guptons inherited Buck Theater and they also bought the projectors. What happened to them? I have no idea. Yeah.
That's right, you sold it in
Yeah.
50,
So those projectors were not electric, they were
75.
carbon, carbon plus, and so you touch them to go with electricity, made a spark, you know, it had a huge mirror, it shot the light onto the screen.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have any idea what your parents paid for the movie theater?
Paid?
Yeah.
What they bought this theater for?
And what they sold it for?
Sold it for $35,000.
That was a hunk of change back then.
It was just the business, it wasn't the building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the town owned the building, we leased the building from the
Oh, you never owned the building?
Never
Oh,
owned the building.
I see, okay, this has always been a town.
And
Yeah, there's always been the town property, as long as we have.
how many reels would be in there?
Average is 6,
Oh, wow.
yeah. A normal 2-hour movie would be 6 reels,
Wow. So you had 2 projectors in?
2 projectors, and so in the old movies, if you always looked up in the right-hand corner, you'd see a little,
Yeah.
and about 10 seconds later, you had to do the changeover to the next reel. That was your cue to start the second machine. And once you saw the second cue, then you hit the button, switch the camera over to the new one, and then the movie kept going. So, yeah, again, you had to stick up to a while. So,
Wow.
yeah. Anything else?
Very interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, there was some business here.